Hi everybody, CohhCarnage here with the Thoughts video, this time on Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. Pathfinder Kingmaker was one of my favorite CRPGs I've ever played. It released in an incredibly rough state, but over time, the company that made it, Owlcat, turned it into something pretty dang special. Kingmaker really showed me that CRPGs could be absolutely huge, have lots of twists of turns, meaningful side quests, great characters, awesome mechanics, and frankly just everything I really like about getting lost in a CRPG was in Kingmaker. So when I heard about Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, not only did I immediately back it rather girthily, but I was extremely excited and had very high expectations. Now, I say I haven't had high expectations, but knowing how Kingmaker went, I definitely came into Wrath of the Righteous with the understanding that I knew that Owlcat was going to do better, but I didn't know how much better. I didn't know if my first playthrough would be let's say cogent. I didn't know if I'd be able to make it all the way through without any game-breaking bugs. However, now that I have finished Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous at just under 200 hours, I can say that it has quickly taken the place in terms of what I really think a CRPG can be. Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous is an absolutely incredible game. It has everything you'd want from an RPG. It has very great, well-developed characters. It has twisting stories. It has tons of interesting mechanics. It has an entire class system on top of a class system. It has very meaningful choices that are present throughout most of the game. It has a beautiful graphics. It has great music. It has, when it's there, just incredible voice acting, very well written dialogue. And frankly, I pretty much enjoyed every single minute that I played it. In terms of things that I think could have been better, and this is going to sound weird, I almost feel like it could have been two games. And not in terms of the story pacing or progression, but just in terms of the sheer girth and the sheer length of time you can spend in it. It was really the kind of thing where even though I was absolutely loving it, there were more than a couple points when I kind of really wanted to find out what was happening, what was going on. But at the same time, there was just so much sheer content that it almost was overwhelming. Specifically, like on Act 4. But you know, it at the same time, it's kind of like it was a weird dichotomy because it's kind of like I loved every second of it. I really enjoyed it. But at the same time, there were definitely times when I was kind of like, you know, there was just so much to do and I really wanted to know what was coming next. And it never really felt like filler, but there's just so much. Sometimes I wish it was a bit more focused. That's I think the best way I can put it. Sometimes I wish it were a bit more focused. Also, in the not so great categories, I did really like the new system that replaced Kingdom Management. However, I feel like it's maybe about 80% complete. There were definitely times during the mid game when I would essentially finish the mechanic and then really not have anything else to do with it. Also, towards the end of the game, it got to a point where I kind of finished it early. And then not only was I kind of spinning my wheels, but like meaningful things were happening in it. But because I was kind of done with it, they didn't really mean anything. So that was a little bit strange. And I definitely feel like hopefully in subsequent patches, Owlcat will make it so that mechanic is much more meaningful in a long term. Slight spoilers, but I'm going to get into it a little bit. Basically, what would happen is I would do all of the challenges present to me relatively early, and then I would have a lot of time where there was simply nothing to do with the mechanic, but other parts of the story would keep adding to the mechanic and giving me new functionality to the mechanic, but I'd already have done everything. So there was nothing left to do really. So I'm sure there's an interesting way that they could make that so it's more meaningful, because I actually did like it, but it was a bit of a drag, kind of feeling like I was done with it when all these extra cool things were happening. I did run into some bugs, not as many as I was planning to run into, but I did run into some bugs. Specifically towards the end of the game, there were a few bugs that prohibited some cooler stuff from happening. Definitely had to reload a couple times because like flags didn't work properly and things of that nature. But I did finish my playthrough and pretty much all of it worked, which I was really happy about. It does, compared to the first game, it does just go to show you how far Owlcat has come as a developer. And also makes me even more excited for their next project, which is completely unannounced, whatever it may be. Since if they learn even a fraction as much as they did between Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous, whatever they come up with next is going to be just incredible. So TLDR, I'm a CRPG guy. Wrath of the Righteous is one of the best CRPGs I've ever played. I emphatically recommend it if you're an RPG fan yourself. There is such a huge amount of quality content in here, and honestly, with the amount of time you're probably spending this game, especially if you do 100% playthrough, you will most assuredly get your value out of this. Also important to mention, by the way, not only will you get your value out of this by playing it one time, but the game actually has a huge amount of content for multiple playthroughs. So there are entire giant events that don't even happen unless you are constructed in a specific way on your character or have picked specific options. And just goes to show you even how, pretty much more incredible that whole thing is. So anyway, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me for this playthrough. I hope you enjoyed it on my YouTube. You can find everything at youtube.com/CohhCarnage, or if you'd like, stop by the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/CohhCarnage for more fun and games there. As always, thank you for watching. Sorry this thoughts video was a little bit late. We'll try to keep them a bit tighter moving forward. And as always, thanks for your time.